Peace, audience. Adam Gerard, LA Ghetto Time News, notes for the mind, common sense. Peace, shalom, man. Thank you guys for viewing videos. Just want to give it all up to the Most High. You know, His word stands and it lasts forever. The Torah, the prophets, these are still valuable lessons that must be heard and spread throughout the future, right? And so basically today we want to talk about Revelation chapter 6 and chapter 7, right? We want to talk about the people that made it out of the great tribulation, and basically give a breakdown of how our lining Revelations 6 and 7 up to old time prophecies, right? And so the topic is the stranger will follow. And I thought this was necessary to do because when we're dealing with people of the Abrahamic faith and we're dealing with people of Christian apologetic movements, things of that nature right there, a hot topic is well, what they prove is that these people in the white robes were given the light prior to the rapture, prior to chapter 6. And so what we're going to do is show in the Old Testament where that's a bone-faced lie right there. And so it all comes down to, when will the Gentiles receive the light, right? And so basically, man, we're going to go through the Old Testament and give a breakdown and show you how Revelations are prefaces to Old Testament prophecies about how the stranger would join. When will the stranger join? And when will the stranger, Gentiles, however you want to call them, will receive this light? And so the Gentiles shall follow. And so not to be too long-winded, got a couple of statements to be made before we continue with this dialogue, right, between you and I, right? Okay, so prefaces, right? These people will be blessed after the war. Christians think one light to do two different peoples at the same time, but the Old Testament doesn't say that. We're going to show and prove that the Old Testament doesn't state that a light will be given. The light says among the Gentiles or unto the Gentiles. Now they like Greek so much, right? The word ek, right? Ek means given to a people within a group of people. Since they like Greek so much, right? Do your research on that ek right there. That's very important right there, right? Because we know that who was to receive the light first, right? And also this is another thing that's a misconception, or what apologetics like to do, right? They like to show end time prophecies and use them for 1st century CE. And so they take the light that's in 42, 49, chapter 60 of Isaiah. These are all Isaiah scriptures, right? So we mainly gonna focus on Isaiah scriptures, right? And so what they try to do is they call it partial fulfillment. And so when Isaiah pertains to, in the same chapter, pertains to the war, the captives, the chains being brought to Zion, the light being in Zion for the stranger, they equate the light to 1st century CE, Yeshua, right? But then when you further read in the chapter, would it tell you, as I stated before, put in chains, bowing down, building up. The strangers shall build the walls of Jerusalem. Everybody will be judged in the valley of Jehoshaphat. See, that's the thing. If everybody will be judged in Revelation, the book was open and everybody is judged in the valley, that means everybody has to come to the valley to be judged. The mistake they make is that they think that the light went out before the war or during the war, and now they're coming back as part of the army. But it don't say that in the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, you're coming back in chains and you will be judged, right? Because the light is to go to the four corners of the earth, which are the scattered sheep of the house of Israel, right? Okay, so let me see. They don't focus on the forced laws that will be put on the Gentiles. Forced laws will be put on these Gentiles. See, we have to understand that in Revelation 7, the ones that had on the white robes will have palms in their hands. What's that? Revelation 7 and 9. 7 and 9, if I ain't mistaken. We'll get to it later on. And so these people, which we know in Revelations and dealing with Daniel about the prosecution of the saints, these saints are going to be gathered or trying to think of a way to say it. These saints will be prosecuted, right? And so we have to understand, what will the saints be prosecuted for, right? And so I get the Christian theology says that the commands that's being spoke of in Revelation as a whole is dealing with the commands that Yeshua gave in the book of Matthew, right? And especially in John, my commandment, mine, do what I say, and all that. You know, the special commands that they say that Yeshua gave to the people. And so, but what we have to understand, dealing with the beast system, we have to understand this spiritual war that's going to partake, and it's dealing with the people who goes against the Most High. Whenever you're going against the Most High, you're going against His word. His word is in the law and the prophets. You know what I'm saying? So these people will be law followers prior to the remnant coming out of every nation. That's key point, right? That's key right there. And so we're going to be focusing on that too, right? And so you're going to have forced laws put upon you. Now we have to understand that the beast systems are Christianity based systems, right? And so why would the beast be prosecuting Christians when they have the same laws as the beast, right? And so this is the whole point of the laws being forced on the Gentiles. What laws? Old Testament laws and the prophets say that you're going to come back to the statutes and the commandments of the Most High, which is stated in Revelations, right? Okay, just think. Christians say they don't have to follow old laws. So are they fiending for His laws to come? No, they're not going to be fiending for it, because they say that they don't have to follow them. But these people that came out of that remnant, they're going to be followed. These were law followers, handed down from generation to generation. And this is why you get that the Most High word stands forever, right? So you can never get rid of the Old Testament. Okay, they're not fit. Let's get another aspect of it. These Christianity. I mean, well, the only people in Revelations that will be feeling the poverty, right? And so we know that in Revelations things are going to get, this is going to be a time when things are worse than it's ever been, right? And so they're not feeling poverty. They say this is not Deuteronomy 28. Excuse me, video cut off. So they say that Revelations is not Deuteronomy 28, right? But as I stated before, you have to understand the beast is against every law and commandment of the Most High. You will not be prosecuted if you're following the beast system. This is what they don't understand. The people who are going to be feeling the poverty, the people who are going to be stricken, the people that's going to have diseases, and all the prophecies that was told of his people, right? The effects that will be put on his people. These people are deprived because they don't follow the beast system. We're dealing with light versus darkness. It's real simple. And so we're also going to show or demonstrate how Deuteronomy 28:64 is nothing but Jacob's troubles, because they're being gathered from the four corners of the earth, which is stated at the beginning of Revelation chapter 6. And so, and also we're going to establish that in Revelation chapter 6, the darkening of the moon, in this tribulation that's coming upon in chapter 6 is the war that's explained up in Isaiah. And so this is just Christian apologetic movement theories, or of a straight blotting out of Old Testament scriptures, you know. So basically Yeshua came down and that aspect or them prophecies that was given in the Old Testament don't apply to Revelation. So basically Yeshua came down, gave him a new way of love, therefore them prophecies are not going to take place, and thus the remnant that came out of every nation, these were the ones that were spared during the war, before the war, and after the war, which the Catholics call the rapture, right? And then we go into all that mythology of angels and spookism and all of these things right here, which is not true, because when we dealing with things like Jeremiah 33:22, the house of David shall multiply, and this is an end time prophet. This is the kingdom. This is the kingdom after the kingdom established. And in Jeremiah 33:22, it's telling you about have babies and multiply. So physically on earth, we're still going to be having babies and we're going to be multiplying, right? I mean, you know, like, okay. So let me try to go faster, right? So revelations are about people that's feeling it. The people that's being prosecuted and killed, these are the people in opposition to the beast system, right? And so common sense would tell you that, well, if they're not following the beast system, then what are they following? The commandments, right? Okay. Christians tell you that the book of life in the Old Testament, the book of life in the Old Testament, I'm reading right now, so y'all got to forgive me. The book of life in the Old Testament were not commandment followers. The people in the book of the Old Testament and Daniel, the book of life, these people were commandment followers. The Christians, like, and so what the Christians do, they look at the book that's in Revelations and they sit there and tell you them two different books. Huh. The book of life is two different books. And so that's another way that they try to deceive the people, by telling you these are two different books, because they have to erase the book of life that's in the Old Testament, telling you that these people were commandment followers, right? And so we get the Christian theology that in Revelation these followers didn't have to follow the commandments. Okay, and so basically, let's continue. Let's get on with the session right there. I just want to give a couple of them demonstrations down before we head on up into these slides, right? So Let's get it in. Excuse me. Okay, so Gentiles in chains, then let free. So what we're going to do, we're going to give some demonstrations of how Revelation chapter 6 and Revelations chapter 7 are features that you can see in Old Testament prophecy. So we're dealing with Isaiah 45 and 14. And let me just give a side note real quick. We have to understand the mind of the Most High, right? And so let me give you a for instance, right? If one of the Most High ways of killing off a nation is to make their rivers dry, make their lands desolate, where the hyena lives in a house, paraphrasing, but y'all know where it's at in the scriptures, making the land desolate. If this is one of his ways of defeating his enemies, and these are used in end time prophecies, we have to understand that an end time prophecy, even if they speak in 10 years from the time that they spoke it, and then it happened in their generation, or whether it's in the future, the basic point is that they're giving a demonstration of the Most High's anger. And so this can be used for the event in a life, and it can also be used for a future event. And so when you see prophecies that already happened, or you see prophecies that hasn't happened yet, but you still see them saying the same kind of wording that the Most High deals with when destroying people, you have to understand his word still stands. And so this is the way that he conducts in war, right? And so when we dealing with Isaiah 45 and 14, I just wanted to bring that up because some would say that Ezra, this happened already from the Babylon to the Persians, things like that, especially what they dealing with Babylon and Assyria, from Assyria, Babylon to Persia, right? So they might equate this to that time, right? But right here in my notes it says Israel, future restoration, and influence on other people. So just wanted to break that down so we can get an understanding, because I look at this and I can see this in the end time. Even if it already happened, this is just the wording of the Most High and how he demonstrates on how he deals with nations, right? Excuse me for being long-winded on that, but I just had to get that understood right there. Thus say the Lord, the laborer of Egypt and the merchants of Ethiopia and of the Sabians, men of stature, shall come over unto thee, and they shall be thine, and they shall come after thee in chains. They shall come over, and they shall fall unto thee, and they shall make supplications unto thee, saying, surely God is in thee, and there is none else. There is no, basically saying no other God but him, right? And so these chains that they will be put in, these are the same chains that they will be put in the future, right? And so just showing that they will be brought to Zion. And so our main focus is to show you that these people are going to come to Zion. Not a light be given to them right then and there. They have to come to Zion to be judged, right? So Isaiah 49:22 and 26. Thus say the Most High, behold, I will lift up my hand to the Gentiles. I will set up my standard upon the people, and they shall bring thy sons in their arms, and their daughters shall be carried upon their shoulders. And kings shall be thy nursing fathers, and their queens thy nursing mothers. They shall bow down to thee with their faces towards the earth, and lick the dust off the feet. Now, I don't want to make emphasis on that right there, but bow your faces to the earth. Thou shalt know that I am the Most High, for they shall not be ashamed that wait for me. Again, they're coming to Zion. We want to emphasize this, coming to. And so we get this march to Zion effect, right? And so the light bearers in Isaiah, let's see. Okay, and so these light bearers in Isaiah chapter 42, which is Isaiah 49, it's the same thing. It's the stories are more elaborate. I mean, if you literally just put all of these chapters together, you get one big old novel within itself of the whole process of what's going to happen, right? And so in 42, dropping down to verse 4, he shall not fail or be discouraged till he have set justice in the earth, and the coast shall wait for his laws. Right? And so when we're dealing with the Old Testament, again, when we're dealing with the saints that kept the commandments of the Most High and kept the faith of Yeshua, this is the same thing that's displayed in Isaiah 42, but in Isaiah 42 telling you that this law that's going on right here, this will be a law. But as Revelations tell you about them that follow the commandments, these are the same people that's in Isaiah 42, that he's going to the coast, four corners, and he's going to give the law. As I stated before, these people are, the law is going to be pushed on these people. The people who don't want to receive it. But see, the four corners of the earth people that's in Deuteronomy 28:64, which are the lost sheep of the house of Israel, they waiting on them laws. That's just like the time that we living in right now. I can't wait for the laws to come. Man, I wish them laws can come tomorrow, man. Well, man, I wish the Most High just come tomorrow and just set his whole foundation upon this earth physically. Physically, man, I would love to wake up and see a new day, man. I'm waiting on it. I'm teaching my kids to wait on it. Wait on that Old Testament, that covenant that was in the Old Testament. Wait on that. Wait on that. Read the Most High words in the Old Testament. Y'all have to understand, audience, that we're dealing with a beast system that in the year 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, you ain't going to even see the Old Testament no more. This is the whole thing about written in your heart. This is what it's all about, being written in your heart to where you don't even need the book no more. Because there's going to come a time, like Daniel said, they changing the law, days and times, right? And the in the dismemberment of the book, right? Getting rid of God's word. And so we're going to have that in our heart to teach our descendants. That's what Paul and them was conveying to the people. Get your studies up and remember this, because maybe in their lifetime they was thinking like, man, they gonna burn our scrolls up, man. They gonna get rid of our scrolls. So we got to have this in the N-word, man, right? And so that's a way of thinking about it, right? And so okay. And so we can go down to Isaiah 42:6. I, the Lord, have called thee into righteousness. I'm showing and proving that the law, when it come out, have called thee in righteousness. The ones who get this light are going to be righteous. That deflates the whole Christian theology of you don't have to be following no laws. And it's not just moral laws. These are physical laws, because we can show you in Revelation 22 where the ones who sit outside the gates or sit outside the walls of the temple are beastly men. Physically beastly man. Physically. Not just mentally. Physically. Right? And so in 6, I have the Lord called thee into righteousness. I will hold thy hand, and I will keep thee, and I will give thee for a covenant of the people, for a light of the nations. And so we know that in Isaiah 42, these are physical Israelites, natural born seed line physical Israelites that's going to be a light to the nations. And so the discrepancy comes in where they think that there's no war right here in Isaiah 42. There's no war. But you have to understand there is a war, because when you go to Isaiah 60, it's telling you about the light again. And then it gets ugly right there. Okay? So Isaiah 49, 22 and 26. Thus say the Lord, behold, I will lift up my hand to the Gentiles, and I will set my standard among the people, as I stated before, etc. Now let's go down right here. So when we're dealing with Isaiah 60 and 3, clearly it says the light is at Zion if you want it. This is where the light is going to be. So this light that went out before the war went to gather the tribes from the four nations. Now what they don't understand is, in order for you to come get your people out of the four corners of the earth, you have to be going to, this is war. This is displayed in Revelation 6. Gathering them for the four corners of the earth, the 144,000. This, I'm trying to tell y'all. Trying to explain it to y'all the simplest way possible. You have to understand this. Isaiah 42 is Revelation 6. The light is going to the four corners, grabbing 144,000, not just 144,000. And these are going to be the physical army of the Messiah. It's not a spookism army. It's just a physical army that's going to have to be gathered up, right? And this is clear in Zechariah, where he gathered his people from the mountains, because that aspect is a Jerusalem aspect, Zechariah, right? And then you got the bow of Ephraim. I'm paraphrasing. We can get back to that. We got the bow. The Judah and Ephraim represents the bow. That's in Greece, right? The Grecians, right? And we can elaborate on that later on. Okay, let's continue. Okay, Isaiah 14 and 2. Before salvation to the nations. This is what has to take place. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. They shall take them captive, who captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. The remnant of Gentiles is not a different group. These are children and women. We have to understand, because guess what? The beast system is the ones that's going to be killed on sight. See, you can't be out there in war and you taking all captives and you're not killing nobody, because we can clearly see in the scriptures that that the prophecies tell you that the blood is going to be so high, it's going to be the height of a horse saddle. That's how much blood going to be in the streets. And then we see in Revelations where they ran into the mountain, they said, rocks cover us up. The slave, the servants, all of them went into the cliffs of the rocks. So there's going to be major killing. And so these people, that the remnant that come out from all these nations, what you think they going to be? They're going to be children and women. Little children and women. Now we got to identify what's going to happen to these little children and these women, right? And they shall take them captives, who captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. How can you take captives of the oppressor when we're dealing with revelations in the future and them oppressors are dead? See, somebody got to pay for what their ancestors did. Just as Israel is punished for what their ancestors did right now. So when you're talking about all that, you can't pay for your ancestors' crimes. I differ. Isaiah 14 and 21. Prepare slaughter for the children of iniquity of their fathers. There you go, right there. There you go. Prepare slaughter for the children, for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers. Excuse me. There you go right there. So don't use that right there. When Israel comes back from war, there are no blessed Gentiles with them. You got to come back to Zion. Christianity don't understand that you're going to be led to Israel. Everybody has to come to Zion for that book to get open, and everybody will be judged in Zion. They don't understand. You have to come to Zion, bro. Let's move on. Okay, let's see. So the art of war, right? Most High, the art of war, right? And so this is what we're gonna be doing. Our descendants. This is what our descendants gonna be doing. Isaiah 42:15. I will make waste mountains and hills, dry up their herbs. I will make the rivers islands, and I will dry up their pools. So in this time of tribulation, war going and all this, he's going to dry up their rivers. If you dry up the rivers, guess what? Babies dying. You can't eat. If you can't drink, you can't survive, then you can't eat, then you die. And so all this is future tense, right? Funny how Isaiah 42:4 says they are waiting on his laws. Verse 6, these prophets will be the light of the Gentiles, not to the Gentiles. That means these are prophets preaching, right? And not even just in a preaching aspect, but as I stated before, a part of the army. So it's like you in the army and you a priest at the same time, and it's like in the name of the Most High Father, slicing and dicing, right? How can they use this for first century light when the light will be to follow the laws that's stated in Isaiah? Let me see, Isaiah. Let's go back. Okay. Isaiah 42. Excuse me, fam. Isaiah 42, verse 4, right? So, right there, right? And so, the light that these people are going to be spitting is going to be the law. And then the beast system ain't going to like the law that's being spit out. And war is automatically going to be happening right there, right? The two witnesses in the street prophesying, you know what I'm saying, the law, etc., etc., and they killed in front of everybody. This is the same thing in Isaiah 42. So just showing you comparisons, right? And so cross-reference. Okay. And so Daniel 12:1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. Now I want to take y'all somewhere. Okay. Excuse me, family. I have to take care of my kids for a minute. Okay, so now let's read Revelations 20 verse 11. Now we know up in verse 10 that Satan was cast into the lake of fire. And this is just my personal opinion. I feel like, to put it all in a nutshell, Revelations is a story that's told 2 times. So the remnant that's coming out as described 2 times in Revelations, that's really that it's really one event that's happening, right? Okay, so now I want to point 1 to show that Israel is not just 144,000 just for the time of Jacob's troubles. This applies to, at the time thy people shall be delivered. It don't say a couple of people, right? And then second point, these people are commandment followers, right? So we're going to bump off of Daniel 21, and we're going to show you how this book is the same book that's in Revelations. So Revelations 20 and 11. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face of the earth the heavens fled away, and there was found no place for them. I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, being judged. This is the judgment right here. This is the battle between life and death, right? You get to live or be a slave, because the people already got killed. See, when we jump into too many of these metaphors of the dead, like talking about the real dead rising from the dead and all that, so you're gonna get confused, because you got to think about the people that's alive. It's showing you in the scriptures that people are going to be brought to Israel to be judged. And so when you're looking at the dead, you're thinking like people are going to be killed right then and there. The people already got killed. It tell you outside of the walls of Jerusalem, there's going to be fornicators and all that out there. It's going to people still going to be living. Like, man, y'all got to get up out of this spookism, man. Man, servants and handmaids, man. All right. So stands before God, verse 12. Stand before God, and the books were open, and other books were open, which is the book of life. Right? And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the book according to their works. So we're dealing with works. Y'all know what works is, right? And then verse 13, at the bottom of verse 13, deliver up the dead that were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works. Bring the dead up out of the man. Right? This physically being judged, right? And so verse 15, and whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. That's slavery. I don't believe in a disappearance of your spirit. I believe, because when we dealing with regeneration is still going to be happening. And we got to think about it like this. On the 6th day, did the Most High close his making spirit factory? Souls. Did he close it up, or did he leave that store open when he said everything has been fulfilled, everything is done? The souls that he created were sealed and delivered when he rested on the day. The factory was shut down. It's called regeneration. So it's going to be a continuation of regeneration. And so you can't create new souls because you already closed the factory. You know, all you can do is, if you depopulating the world, I can see that right there. But man, okay. And so I just want to go to chapter 21 and verse 2. And I, John, saw the holy new Jerusalem coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Want to go to verse 7. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and will be his God, and he shall be my son. Verse 8. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable, murderers, fornicators, sorcerers, idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. I personally believe that there go your vagabond slaves. I mean, like, you know, just forced labor, right? And so let me jump. And I want to jump to 27. And I'm showing you a reflection of these people that's in the book of life. These people will be against darkness. And so we go to verse 22. And there shall in no way enter into it anything that defileth, neither he that worketh abomination or maketh a lie, but they who are written in the Lamb's book of life. Okay, so now we get an understanding of Daniel 12:1, and correlating this. Correlating this with Revelation in 7, the remnant that came out of the tribulation. These people they didn't start believing when they saw the Most High come. They didn't start believing when they saw the war start jumping off and all that. No, these are people that were already sealed, who were already keepers of the commandments. You have to understand this stuff right here. Okay, so now let's go to let's put the nail in the coffin. Let's go to Revelations 22. And let's go to verse 7. Behold, I come quickly. Blessed is he that keepeth the words of the prophecy of this book. And I, John, saw these things and heard them, and when I had heard and seen, I fell down, worship before the feet, etc. Angels showed me these things, right? Okay. Verse 9. And he said unto him, see, thou do it not, for I am thy fellow servant of thy brethren, of thy brethren, the prophets, of them who keep the words of this book. Worship God, not Jesus. God, who keep the words of the... What books is he talking about? He's talking about the law and the prophets. Don't let them fool you when they try to tell you the Gospels. The Gospels are the law and the prophets. The Gospels just mean the foretelling of the kingdom to come, which the disciples of Yeshua were doing. They were prophesying off the prophets in the law. This is where they got their information from. Okay, verse 10. And he said unto me, seal not the words of the prophecy, seal not the words of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. Verse 11. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still, and he that is filthy, let him be filthy still, and he that is righteous, there go that word righteous. What does it mean to be righteous? It's to follow the commandments of the Most High. Let him be righteous still. See, let him still be righteous still. It's not just talking about a man in a certain time. It's talking about his descendants. Remember, you have to get fed. Remember, this is the year 4000, 5000, 6000 CE. Somebody's still teaching the commandments. You have to somebody's still teaching the commandments. Somebody's still reading the words of the Most High. Thus say the Most High in the Old Testament. Somebody's still doing it. And these people are being taught it. It didn't just come out of nowhere. What you getting scared? You see in the world end, and now you starting to read the scriptures. You don't get saved like that. It don't work like that. Okay. Let him be righteous still, and he that is holy, let him be holy still. And behold, I come quickly. My reward is with me to give every man according to his work. I'm showing you works, man. I'm showing you what is it to have these works. This is physical. This is physicality. This is a physical realm, as well as morally and physically a walk. Okay, let's jump to 14. Blessed are they that watch their robes. Now, in my commentary, it's the ones that do the commands, that they may have right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates into the city. What is the tree of life? The tree of righteousness. That's in Isaiah. See, all these metaphors, all of these semi parables and all of these things are all are in Old Testament prophecies. So you can't get rid of Isaiah prophecies about the conditions of the stranger and the Gentile, what their conditions are going to be. Israel land will be expanded even further. They're going to be literally taking land from Gentile nations, making their nations small, and making and Israel nations will be expanding. And this will be all over the world. So don't sit here and tell me that you see this right here, the tree of life, those who are part of the tree of life, and you know tree of life is the righteous tree that's up in Isaiah. But when we get to Isaiah talking about your land gonna be taken from you, confiscated, you're gonna be servants and handmaids. These are the people that's in Revelation 7. These are the nations that came, the remnant that came up out of the nations. These are the ones that's going to have their land took. These are the ones that's going to be servants and handmaids. These are the ones that's going to have to keep the laws and the commandments. Let me repeat it. These are the ones that keep the commandments. Verse 15. For outside are dogs, sorcerers, fornicators, murderers, idolaters, and whoever maketh a lie. Saying the same thing all over again, right? So these are the people that's found in the book of life. These people who resist these people that's outside of the walls, right? And let's go to verse 18. For I testify to every man that heareth the word of the prophecies of this book. There you go. Who heard the prophecies of this book. Now they want to say this book is a separate book from the book of life. But you can see everything that these people were to follow resembles the same book of life that's Old Testament prophetic, right? And then here go this split right here. But this book, nah, you can't do that, because in this book the people had to be righteous people, part of the tree of life, the tree of righteousness, right? Verse 18. For I testify unto every man that heareth the word of the prophecy of this book, if any man shall add unto these things, God shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. For if any man shall take away the words of this book, of this prophecy, God shall take away his part from the tree of life. What? The tree of life, the tree of righteousness. See, the book of this prophecy, the Revelation as a whole is a compromise of Old Testament prophecies. You have to understand this. And so now let's look at the commandment followers, right? Now if you was to sit here and say that these are two different raptures, right? Revelations 12 and 17. And when the dragon was angry with the woman and went into make war with the remnant of her seed, who kept the commandments of God and have testified in the testimony of Yeshua. Then we go to verse 14. And then we go 13 and 7. It was given unto him to make war with the saints. The saints was the ones up in Revelations 12 and 17. Now we go to 14. 14 and 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Yeshua. So it's giving you a distinction in here. So you can't say this prophecy, this book pertain commandments of Yeshua, when it's telling you these are the commandments of God and the faith. That the faith means the walk of Yeshua, how Yeshua walked physically on earth, his walk, his works, the way people, that's how you're supposed to walk, and you're supposed to keep the commandments of the Most High. It's simple, man. So Revelation 7 and 14. Sir, I answer, you know. So he replied, these are the sons who have come out of the great tribulation and have washed their robes and made them white with the blood of the Lamb. The restoration of Israel and Judah. This is the title of Jeremiah 30 and 7. For at last, for the day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's troubles, but he shall be saved out of it. Gentiles are living good in a world of no laws. These people in Revelation 7 are God followers from time past. They were taught the commandments of God. They ain't just get it out of nowhere. So now let's deal with the stranger Gentile paradox. In Christianity, this is another example of the fallacies of Christianity, right? They would use things like Solomon's dedication to the temple where the stranger was blessed to. They use the stranger as a footbill to show that God loves us too. We are partakers. We are joint heirs and things of that nature. So what they do is that they show stranger in the end time they show strangers in the Old Testament as being fellow heirs, but fail to mention of the responsibilities that the strangers had to uphold. And so they go right to Isaiah 56, and I just don't understand it, how in Isaiah 56 it say that these servants and all that are going to be keeping the Sabbath. And so, like, let's look at it like this. So, starting at Isaiah 56 and 1. Thus say the Lord, keep justice and do righteousness. There you go again. For salvation is near to come, and my righteousness is to be revealed. Blessed is the man that do this, and the Son of Man that layeth hold on it, that keep the Sabbath from polluting it, and keep his hand from doing any evil. Neither let the son of a foreigner. See, you have to understand, so these foreigners or these strangers, they already knew about the Sabbath. These are descendants of descendants that learned of the Sabbath not to profane it and keep it holy. This is Isaiah 56. This is the future, right? This is prophecy, right? So these people are in the book of life. These people that keep the Sabbath and don't profane it. These are the people that know not the Sabbath on every day, as Christians say, but no, it's on that day of rest. See, these people knew about it. Let me tell y'all something about the light. The light that's out right now is not the light that's out right now is the comforter, what you would call up in John the comforter light. It's the comforter light. This is not the physical light. I'm trying to show you that the light with that sword in his hand, that light right there, that's the light that's going to judge the people. This comforter light that we are right now, we are nothing but simply to be ministers to the world. That's it. And what are we supposed to be prophesying? We're prophesying the same thing that the two witnesses, the saints, prophesied in the streets. We ain't trying to convert nobody. We not trying to do nothing. We teaching you about thus say the Most High, found in the law and the prophets. See, you don't understand. The first century light wasn't to grab anybody or do anything. If you want to follow these customs, fine. But in first century CE, we trying to build up an army and we trying to get our land back, right? That's what they were trying to do, right? So I don't know why Gentiles keep using Isaiah 56 when you got to keep the Sabbath, or these people were foreordained or had the foreknowledge to be keeping the Sabbath, even to be put up in this mix of nations that will be what you would call grafted in or become part of the tree of life. Again, Revelation's all about these people keeping commandments. It's whether nations, I don't care, you from another nation, you four corners of the earth, Israel, to put on that white robe is to be a follower of the commandments of God, because Revelations is giving you clues to Old Testament prophecies. It's simple as that. So every time you see the word gospel, is talking about Old Testament, not new. The disciples never intended their letters to be added to the old. That was only up to Levites, scribes, right? Okay. Isaiah 60 disproves chapter 42 and 49, light to the Gentiles, like they getting it first. Like first, taking out the equation of Israel getting it, right? And it's like the light just going to everybody, you know. And so they even go a step further and tell you that they're even going to be Christians fighting in the war, but they believe in that rapture doctrine of the Catholics. But they say they're not Catholics, but they believe in the rapture, right? Okay, so Isaiah 61:3. Arise, shine, for thy light is come. Now this is in Zion. This ain't all over the earth. This is Zion. For thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon thee. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord shall rise up thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee, and the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and kings to the brightness of thy rising. This is in Zion. This is in Zion. Hit the Messiah's light. That's that light you gotta cut. That's that light you're gonna be judged with right there. It's not for Isaiah 49 and 42. That light, if you want to use it in a first century context, because somebody got to get it first and somebody got to get it second. I mean, you trying to tell me 2 years have to pass? I keep looking at first century CE, and I keep asking myself, man, I mean, like, did the 12 have a time limit of the gathering of these Israelites? Was it fulfilled in Acts 2? Was it fulfilled in 90 CE, 70 CE? When was it fulfilled? Jeremiah 31:31 ain't never happened. Therefore Isaiah 42 ain't happened. Therefore Isaiah 49 ain't happened. Therefore Isaiah 60 ain't happened. Therefore Isaiah 56 ain't happened. But what did happen was the priests, the ministers to the world, which we are still up under that light right now. And as I told you Christians before, if you can't identify who this natural born real Israelite seed supposed to be in these times, it's some real Israelites in these times right now that we living in, preaching the commandments of the Most High, the Word of God and all that, and you can't identify them. Because you said it's not about race, it's not about fringes, it's not about observance of the commands. It's not about beards. It's not about skin color. It's not about nothing. How can you identify this light this light that's still burning right now with these people out here still preaching the Old Testament? Hey, you looking at them. They call Hebrew Israelites. You're looking at them. These are the ones that's still preaching thus say the Most High, while you sitting there saying thus say Jesus. There you go right there. And so I hope y'all follow this, man. We're going to do the part 2. This is part 1. We're going to do part 2. Peace. Shalom.